Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of our Global Travel Update for this first Thursday of September 2025. We're coming to you from the harbor here in Camden, Maine. Talk about old school beauty, history, tradition, amazing boat building. We're here doing one of my PBS specials called Hidden Maine. So what better time to get on the air and talk to you? Of course, you know the drill. Ask your questions, we'll answer them. We got lots of stuff to talk about today, so let's get started. Spirit Airlines, filing Chapter 22. That's right, they like Chapter 11 so much, they did it twice within a year. They first filed last November. They came out of it with about $800 million in sort of like debtor in possession financing in March, but it was a terrible summer for them. It's been actually a terrible 3 years for them. And they went back in about 5 days ago. And I'll get back to what that means to you in a second. Keep in mind that Spirit was in bad shape financially 3 years ago when the whole idea was they were going to merge with Frontier. And on the eve of that maybe happening, who showed up? JetBlue, and said, we'll make you a better offer. Now, why were they interested in Spirit anyway? 2 different kinds of airlines, 2 different markets, 2 different route networks. You know why they wanted them? They wanted the planes and the pilots. They fly the exact same type of Airbus equipment. The pilots are trained on it. You don't have to wait 5 years to get a new plane delivered. Spirit has a relatively young fleet. That's what they wanted. But that merger was blocked by a federal judge claiming it was anti-competitive. That threw Spirit into free fall. It wasn't very much better for JetBlue, by the way, which ended up with a partnership that just was announced a couple of weeks ago with United. But what does that mean to Spirit? Well, over the last 12 months, they've been furloughing pilots, they've been parking planes, they've taken deliveries on no new planes, and they started cutting routes and frequencies. Now, they are still operating, let me be clear about that, and they're still flying to most of their routes. And a lot of airlines in Chapter 11 do just that. They're not liquidated, they're still operating under bankruptcy protection under Chapter 11. So what does this mean to you? If you're holding a ticket on Spirit and they haven't canceled the route or your flight, use the ticket. Presumably you bought it with a credit card. I don't know anybody anymore that does business in cash for airline tickets. And under federal credit laws, you're protected if the airline doesn't end up flying when you want to go. Now, having said that, when that happens, or if that happens, no one's going to honor that ticket. It doesn't have any value. So what happens then? You're going to have to go out and buy a ticket on a competing carrier, which, by the way, will inevitably be more expensive. But for the moment and in the short term, it's okay to fly Spirit. I would fly them tomorrow as well. Just want to give you an idea of what this means. What it also means, and this is a very interesting development, Spirit is now blaming, of all airlines, Southwest Airlines for their second Chapter 11 filing. How did that happen? Well, indirectly, when Southwest Airlines decided to change their financial model, getting rid of no free check bags, or getting rid of free check bags, and then going to assigned seating, the move away from Southwest was measurable by passengers. And Southwest, in order to get them back, started discounting airfares in the middle of summer. Nobody ever discounts airfares in the middle of summer. Southwest did. That took away Spirit's ability to make money on those airfares. It's sort of like how we now define, or how we used to define in both cases, what's a successful airline? Which can lose money longer? It has nothing to do with making money. It's which can lose money longer. Obviously, Southwest can lose money longer than Spirit, hence the second filing. Some people might call that predatory pricing. In this case, it wasn't. Southwest just had to try to regain market share when people got so angry at them for getting rid of the free check bags deal. So that gives you an idea of the history here with Southwest. Speaking of Southwest, I've talked about this on the show before. It's worth mentioning again. Until they go to assigned seating, I mean, they've announced it, but they don't go to it until next year. But until they go to assigned seating, remember the crazy rules at airports and under the US DOT. If I'm a passenger and I request wheelchair assistance, no one is entitled to ask me why. I don't have to prove my disability. And so I get wheelchair assistance. I can then check in at the counter in the wheelchair. I get wheeled to the gate. Maybe I even go earlier through security, and I board first. And on Southwest Airlines, when there's no pre-assigned seating, I get the best seats. Now, we call these in many cases miracle flights. Why? Because when that plane lands and all those attendants are there at the arriving airport with their wheelchairs to help you, all those people who boarded with wheelchairs, a miracle has happened. They can suddenly walk. In fact, they can run, and they zip off the plane. This is abusive. It's insulting. It disenfranchises the people who really need the help. We need new rules, not just for Southwest, but for all the airlines. Look, you don't want to deny someone who's truly got a disability issue or a mobility issue the opportunity for assistance. But this is a total scam, just like the emotional support animal was. They finally put an end to that, right? No more parakeets and snakes on a plane. But the bottom line here is it's happening left and right. It's got to change. An update now on artificial intelligence, Delta Airlines, and personalized pricing. The issue is not going away, even though Delta says they're not doing it. Airlines have been doing what we call surveillance pricing for quite some time. And this is just one level up with AI helping. And when an airline says they're not doing it, I need them to prove it. Because there's one thing to price your tickets, which is the old-fashioned way on basic law of supply and demand principles. We got that, right? That's how people price grapes at the grocery store. However, this is going way beyond that. And if there's no base price, then you're all flying blind and nobody benefits except the airline. We're going to be following that, but going one step further, and this is crazy. Earlier this year, Delta Airlines announced a partnership, are you ready? With DraftKings, right? The NFL season starts this week, but they announced a partnership with DraftKings. Now, we know, at least the last time I looked, that sports betting or gambling is illegal in the air. It violates every federal rule and law. But wait a minute. Why would Delta Airlines partner with DraftKings? For the same reason Delta Airlines partnered with Uber, right? If you use an Uber, you get Delta miles. If you bet on a sporting event, you get Delta miles. Okay, this basically is the ultimate personification or description of a lose-lose situation. You lose your money betting and you get miles you can't redeem. What a concept. So we're going to see what happens with the DraftKings partnership, but it's in place. Let's see what happens. Okay. I just thought I'd mention that since football season is starting. Okay. Now I got to share another story with you. We did this story on Travel Detective on PBS about 3 years ago. It's time to talk about it again. In the last 10 years, more than 440 people have died. We're talking travelers, and the cause of death? Selfies. Death by selfie. What makes everybody think that a great travel picture has to include you in it? What are you thinking? Do you want to step one more step further back on the cliff? Hang out one more step on the stairway that's got a 45-degree angle? Stick your head out of a moving train? How important is that shot? Try to climb the pyramids and then turn around and take a shot? The Bridge of Sighs in Venice is loaded with tourists with selfie sticks. It's ugly and dangerous. Look, the most recent cases of death by selfie are even crazier. A woman in the Turks and Caicos had both her hands bitten off because she wanted to pose with a shark that happened to be in shallow water. This is absurd. Stop with the selfies. And while you're at it, can people please stop taking pictures every time they order a meal in a restaurant? Really? You just want to take pictures of your food? Have we no originality or creativity? But that's not going to get you in trouble. That's just going to annoy me. What's going to get you in trouble is thinking that every picture has to have you in it, which is annoying in itself. Add the element of danger, death by selfie, bye-bye. So look at those figures. Speaking of figures, I'm going to show you a chart in a second. We've been talking about this since February, the serious drop-off in foreign visitors to the United States. It's continuing. One of the reasons why we have such a big fair deal going on, which I'll explain in a second. The Economist just published a chart. I'm going to show you that chart now. Look at those numbers. That's the drop-off about how many people didn't visit the United States this summer. That's over $25 billion in revenue that will never be recouped. I mean, never recouped. And if there were a lot of empty seats coming to the US this summer, there are a lot of empty seats going back. And now we're in the fall quarter, it's even worse. So check the internet, check your emails. There's going to be a huge sale on international flights. Huge. It's already started with some airlines, Condor, Norse, round trip LA to London for $258. Come on. I mean, you can't get from LA to Redding, California for $258. That's going to continue. Now, the fares that have been announced don't kick in until October 5th, but that's about a month away. Do it today. Lock it in because it's not every seat on every flight. And you're going to see more and more of that happening, including in the US, especially now with Spirit. Airfares domestically will come down. The last big hurrah was this past weekend, and now it drops off with kids in school and people getting serious about work. So check the internet. You're going to see great deals, and they'll last until the 1st of December, and they'll kick back in again around January 7th. So be aware of that. Now, the next one is a video that was sent to me by my good friend Johnny Jett. He has a great website, by the way. And Johnny caught this at, this is great, at the customer service counter at American Airlines when a plane was delayed, followed by another delay, followed by another delay, followed by a lot of people standing there with no information whatsoever, and nobody at the information and help desk. So finally, one passenger did this.
It's actually Terminal K, American Airlines, third time requesting somebody here at customer assistance. We have people going to West Palm Beach, we've been here since 6:30 this morning for an 8:30 flight that continues to get delayed and nobody's giving us answers as to when we're going to be leaving. Please send somebody here. You can't be that inept. Then I know it already.
I get applause. Yeah, he gets it. By the way, I have to check with Johnny to see if anybody ever showed up. Customer service does not have to be an oxymoron. In any case, this is what's going on, right? Airlines are cutting back. They're treating us as self-loading human cargo. And that's what we're dealing with. But anyway, I wanted to share that video that Johnny Jett was nice enough to post that happened just this past week at an American Airlines counter at one of the airports. Okay, now, we talk about over-tourism all the time, but there's another way to define it. At what point do the number of tourists at any destination so overwhelm the destination as to suffocate it? So which which countries are the most at risk? I mean, the numbers here are going to stagger you. Okay, which country is the most crowded destination? You're not going to get it. Ready? It's the Vatican. Based on their population, which is quite small, it is the smallest country in the world, tourists outnumber residents by, you ready? 7,709 to 1. Whoo, say a prayer. You're in the right place. That's crazy. Other ones, the Bahamas, right? I mean, 401,000 people live there, but 11 million tourists showed up. And Switzerland, tourists outnumber locals 5 to 1. Anyway, we're going to have those numbers posted on our website, petergreenberg.com, just so you can put things in perspective as to when you want to go somewhere. and when you might not want to go somewhere. The good news is the seasonality is basically evaporating, and therefore there's hope. Okay, let's say hello to some folks here. Let's go back up to the top. Priya's saying hi from Chicago. Melanie's saying greetings from stormy Miami. Do I happen to know which travel insurance company might cover travel to Israel currently? Almost all of them do. You know why? Because as long as the airlines are operating there, scheduled airlines, they can't operate without insurance. They had to get insurance as well. There may be a geo lock there about certain places you can't go while you're in Israel, or the insurance is void, like perhaps Gaza or the West Bank. But I don't see any problem getting insurance to Israel. Now, there are some tour operators that have ceased to operate because they couldn't get insurance. And there's some cruise lines that are now bypassing Haifa for the moment, and also Red Sea ports. But for the airlines that are flying there, you should have no trouble getting it. Okay, Michelle is saying, hi from New York. I love Camden and Rockland. What's not to love? And I go way beyond lobster rolls here. Behind me is the harbor here in Camden. What's great about the boats here, and as you know, I'm a boat aficionado, I'm a boat geek, the boats that are built here are here forever. They're beautifully maintained, they're lovingly cared for, and the classic lines and design hasn't really changed in over 100 years. The old lobster boats, the wide beams, the beautiful woodwork. A lot of wooden boats are still made in Maine. And you know what? Yes, they were so beautiful. So I totally agree with you, Michelle. Let's keep going. Hello from Tucson. Sid saying hello from Thailand. Oh, Jim and Harriet, of course, always saying hi. Camilla saying from Tucson again. Scott saying hello from Chicago. My favorite memory of Maine, watching the sunset from Cadillac Mountain and Bar Harbor. Yet we had the most amazing sunrise here today in Camden, and went out on a boat at sunrise. I mean, you can't beat it. Truly, now, are the winters a little harsh? Yeah. But the reason why people stay here in the winter is just to get ready for summer. It's really as simple as that. Teddy's saying hi from LA. What vaccinations do I think you should get before traveling to Peru? Well, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on radio or television, so I'm not going to tell you that answer. You need to discuss that with your own first personal physician. I am not going to make a medical recommendation, and I hope you understand why. Evelyn's saying greetings from Hewlett, Long Island. Okay. Pamela's in Silverdale, Washington. And she says, I was on a cruise to the Costa Maya, and there were 3 big cruise ships in port at the same time. There were over 11,000 people in port. It was crazy. I know. Listen, you have to take my advice on this. Do I love to go on cruise ships? Yes. Do I love cruising? Yes. Do I like being in port with 11,000 other people or more? Of course not. The infrastructure is depleted and exhausted, and it's not a good experience for anybody, including the people who live there. So whenever you want to book a cruise, and most of you will do that, I hope, through a travel agent or a travel advisor who's a cruise-only travel agent or advisor. They specialize in it. Here's what you need to ask. Once you pick an itinerary that you like, right? You come upon an itinerary that you really like where the ship is going, you need to ask this question. And if the travel advisor can't answer it, don't book the trip. When we are in Costa Maya, when we are in Cozumel, when we are in St. Thomas or St. Martin, how many other ships will be there on that Tuesday that we're there? And if the answer is more than 2, pick another itinerary. Who wants to get off a ship to stand in line to do anything? It's not fun. The other thing you want to ask, which some cruise lines are now thankfully doing, but you need to ask to find out which ones are doing it and when they're doing it and where they're doing it, is which ports are you overnighting in? So that you have an opportunity for more than just getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning and rushing off at 5 in the afternoon. This way you get to a little bit more of an immersion into the culture, into the location. You're not rushed, and it's a much better deal. River cruises do this a lot, but I'm talking about the ocean cruises. The more ocean cruises that do it, the happier we're all going to be. Okay? And I know why a lot of ocean cruises don't like doing it. They like getting all the revenue on the ship. Sorry, guys. It's called balance. Balance the itinerary. Think of your guests. Think of the people who want to establish an opportunity to learn something about a destination, to experience it. It's not about buying a t-shirt and getting one pina colada and racing back to the ship. So I hear what you're saying, Pamela, and we appreciate that. Let's scroll back down. We got some other questions that came in. Mike says, what's the best airline to fly from Chicago to Croatia? Where in Croatia? That's the key. Give me that answer and I can tell you, I can give you some suggestions. Robert says, are there nonstop flights between the U.S. to Dubrovnik? Oh, same question. Or do I always need to connect in Europe? Right now, I believe Delta might have one, but it's seasonal. I'll check into that. But then again, you haven't told me where you're flying from, which means it won't be a nonstop flight in many cases. You might have to go from either New York or Atlanta. Victor says, when airlines advertise basic economy fares to Europe, what do I actually lose compared to a regular economy ticket? Well, a lot of things. One, your baggage allowance. Two, the ability to pick a seat for a long haul flight. C, the ability to get a refund if you cancel, right? Or even a credit. We're really talking about credits. And if you're that addicted to the mileage programs, your ability to earn somewhat worthless miles. So there you go. Okay, Marta says, I've got a trip to Thailand planned. Should I get local cash before I go or wait until I arrive? You never get local cash in the US. There's no point in it. The exchange rate's not beneficial, and you're carrying around a lot of stuff you don't need. Check with your own bank that issues your ATM, right? Your ATM card or your debit card, and find out if they have a program based on your account status that gives you no fees on foreign ATMs, right? Or rebates those fees. Many banks will do that. That way you avoid the money changers entirely. You only take out what you need at the exchange rate the bank is giving their own customers in those destinations. Not a private ATM, but one affiliated with a bank that you can see on any street. That would be my advice. And then, since you're only taking out what you need, whatever you have left, you can use for tip money when you leave. Then it's an even wash. Okay. Chris says, how far in advance should I renew my passport if it expires next year? Well, we're now in September. If it expires before March next year, renew it now. You want to give yourself 6 months, right? There are some countries that will not allow you to enter with a passport, even though the passport's valid in this country. They won't allow you to enter if it has less than 6 months of validity because they don't want you to overstay your visa or your welcome. So if you got 6 months or less, renew it now, okay? And when you do renew it, get the 52 pager, not the 24 or 28 pager, right? Because if you travel a lot and you fill up all those 28 pages, they don't add extra pages. You have to go and buy a new passport, even if you have 7 years left on the passport. Get the 52 pager, it's not going to cost you any more. Julian says, is travel insurance worth buying for a short domestic trip or just for international? Well, it's not about the length of the trip. It's about the cost of your travel, right? Are you taking a 7-day cruise, but you bought the presidential suite on the ship, right? The owner's cabin. Or are you staying at a 5-star hotel for 5 nights where your travel investment's $10,000, right? So it's not about international or domestic. It's about the investment you have in the trip and where the trip is, not necessarily domestic or international, right? And remember, and this is important, what kind of insurance are you buying? Are you buying trip cancellation and interruption insurance from the travel provider? Bad idea. Are you buying it online? Bad idea, because as you know, when you make an airline reservation online, you can't complete that transaction unless you either opt in or opt out of the insurance, and you want to do it conveniently and expediently, and you figure, okay, one-stop shopping, you hit the little button and you buy insurance. You have no idea what you're covered for, no idea what you're not covered for. So you want to get trip cancellation insurance and interruption insurance if you have a sizable invested in the trip. It has nothing to do with the length of the trip. But buy it from a third party, which you can do through a travel agent or a travel advisor, and they can read you the hieroglyphics of the policy language so you know what you're covered for and know what you're not covered for. Okay, I gotta love the photo of the week this week. So congratulations to Betsy Worcester. Show that picture. Aw, can we all say aw? Yes. We were lucky to see the Lion Club several times in Tanzania in June. What a joy they are. Let me tell you something. My experience in Tanzania, You want to see the big five? You're going to see them in the Serengeti. You are going to see them. I've had so much of a better experience there than many other African countries. And how about that? And they posed for you. Isn't that special? If you think you got a picture that's worth the picture of the week and you want to have it right up there with Betsy's, then just go to photo contest at petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you, it goes right up there. Okay. Oh, and Camilla says it's also about medical evacuation. Yes, I didn't mention that, so I will. There are two major points of insurance. One I just mentioned, trip cancellation and interruption insurance, but then there's medical evacuation and repatriation insurance. And that's coverage you can get from a number of carriers. I happen to like MedJet Assist, I happen to like Allianz and Travel Guard, and also Berkshire Hathaway. Those four do a reasonably good job. You still have to read the policy language, but essentially what those things say is if you're sick or injured overseas, where your own medical coverage won't help you, they will then pay to get you medically stabilized there. The best policies, not all policies, but the best policies will then consult with your own personal physician who knows your medical history better than your own doctor. And then in consultation with your doctor, they will fly a medically equipped jet to get you to, this is important, the doctor and medical facility of your choice. There are a lot of medical evacuation and repatriation insurance policies that will get you to the doctor and medical facility of their choice. You don't want to be in a bad HMO in the middle of nowhere. You know what I'm saying. Talk to a travel advisor. Again, there are some exclusions there, for age or pre-existing conditions. Check them out. But it's insurance. If you can get it, you need to have it. I know for a fact on MedJet you can buy an annual policy. They even sell a family policy, and it's very reasonable. I mean, literally, when you add up the costs that you will incur if you don't have it, it's not even arguable. It's a no-brainer. Get it. Okay. Here we go. Jim and Harry said, we're going to Leeds for a conference in 2 weeks. Things to do. Email me. peter@petergreenberg.com will help you out. Okay? All right. Last but not least, a couple of housekeeping items. Later this month, look for more news on our next television special. That's Hidden Malta. Travel Detective Season 10 now airing now on PBS, Amazon, Apple TV, and YouTube. And of course, we'll see you on the radio this Saturday from a location that we won't reveal until Saturday. We're on from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't find a station in your neighborhood, not a problem. We also stream it live on our website starting at about 10:05 Eastern. And of course, in the meantime, be sure to ask all your questions. Send them to me, peter@petergreenberg.com. We'll either answer them online, we'll answer them on the radio, or we'll answer them right here when we do our next global travel update next week from another location somewhere around the world. In the meantime, I'm not being rude, but with a view like this behind me, are you kidding? I'm going back out on a boat right here in Camden, Maine. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Let's see. Let's go Eagles. I just thought I'd mention that, and I'll see you next week.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.